So, President Trump saying this morning he is getting closer to picking a time and place to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. North Korea, meantime, recently suspending its nuclear program, and geologists saying it could be because their nuclear test site may have collapsed. This news comes ahead of tomorrow's summit between North and South Korea. General Jack Keane is a retired four-star general, former vice chief of staff of the U.S. Army, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and Fox News senior strategic analyst. General Keane, always great to see you.
Good to see you.
So, let's talk about North Korea's nuclear test, because in September of last year, it was the rogue regime's sixth and the country's most powerful to date, which caused part of the test site to collapse. Let's just say Kim Jong-un is really going to live up to his word, curb his program. Why would he do so after investing so much? How are we to believe that?
Well, first of all, we don't know if that's serious or not, but there are a number of signs that should encourage us, because he's been on sort of a diplomatic blitz ever since he invited himself to the Olympics and engineered President Moon to come and have a summit with him, by the way, which starts in a number of hours in South Korea, and also invited President Trump to come. And then he's dropped a number of concessions on the table as well. So he's heading towards this summit with President Moon, and I suspect something positive will come out of that, Julia, because I think what they'll agree to is an end to the Korean War, an end to the armistice, and possibly a pathway to pull back the troops from their mutual border that they have. There's a 2-mile demilitarized zone that separates them, but the fact is the North Korean army is on the border, right, and much of the South Korean army is on the border. And if that could happen that wouldn't happen immediately, over a period of time, that's another huge step in the right direction, which starts to set the table for possibly, and I just say possibly, right, a potential positive outcome, when President Trump meets with him in June.
Last week, Kim Jong-un ordered that the test site be closed, and he announced that North Korea no longer needed, and let's just pay attention to that word, needed, to test nuclear weapons. Is this goodwill, or is it that his nuclear program is just so advanced that he doesn't need to test it anymore?
Well, I think I accept the Chinese report that it collapsed as a result of his last test, and it's likely contaminated and not usable.
Right.
And he's typically disingenuous with us. He doesn't tell us that's the reason. He tells us he's shutting it down in good faith. Right. Of course, he's also implying that he's completed his nuclear development program. Most people don't think he has, in terms of re-entry of a nuclearized ICBM. All that said, though, going into this is going to be one of the toughest negotiations that the United States has ever been involved in. That's for sure.
North Korea, while it likes to brag about tests that go right, it certainly never talks about tests that go wrong. So it's very well that the tunnel collapsed and they no longer have anywhere to test. So he says we're going to shut it down just to save face. But I want to play to you President Trump this morning talking about what could or couldn't happen when he eventually meets with Kim Jong-un. Let's listen to that.
It could be that I walk out quickly, with respect, but it could be that maybe the meeting doesn't even take place. Who knows? The nuclear war would have happened if you had weak people. We had weak people. This should have been settled long before I came into office. This is a much different ballgame than if they did it 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. This is a much more dangerous ballgame now.
Okay, so this is not just about shutting down sites and ending a nuclear program. This is about transparency. And Japan actually reported that after that test and the collapse of that tunnel, possibly 200 people were killed. Now, obviously, we're not getting that information from North Korea. We never will. But if Pyongyang actually shuts down the site and stops and halts its nuclear program, do you think the U.S. will ever actually learn more about its secretive program? And should part of the deal include allowing inspectors to go in and get answers, like they do in Iran?
As the president said, I mean, first of all, we're at this point, and the president is right when he talks about previous administrations did not accomplish what they should have. Look what he's been able to accomplish. And I'm not being Pollyannish about it. These are facts. He's moving to a summit for the first time with a North Korean leader, and the North Korean leader has put on the table taking away his nuclear power capability. That's what he said. They've always lied. They've always manipulated us. They've always cheated. They've always wanted concessions out of it. That could be the game that's being played here. If that's the game, Trump's going to walk away from it. President Trump is going to walk away from it for sure. So what I suspect here is that if he's serious, it would look something like this. The program is frozen, as he's already stated. The second thing would be to disable his nuclear weapons, because that's something you can begin to do immediately. And then we would have to verify that with inspectors at all sites. Third thing is eventually they would dismantle the nuclear weapons. That would also have to be verified at all sites. We would also have to go to his research sites and his development sites to make certain that none of that is taking place, and also his ballistic missile sites. That is a long-term program. I don't think it takes years, as Kim Jong-un would probably want it to take, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to have a lot of specifics and milestones associated. So this is the beginning. If this is positive, Julie, if this is really going to turn into something, and we're not wasting the president's time, then we're in the beginning of something that will take a considerably long time with a lot of detail.